We have here what appears to be an alien invasion.
And the line between civilization and anarchy is eroding as
Out of
we...
my way, you punks!
Wow!
Lunchtime! Yeah, I gotta get out of here.
Extra pickle, extra ketchup, extra mustard.
How about extra get lost?
What? What's going on?
Oh!
Aliens have all the fun.
Well, the story is a remarkable one. We sent 12 Americans to a distant star system on an alien spacecraft in 1965.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We're going to be chatting with Len Kasten about sending people to Serpo. But first, as always, the great Graham Dunlop. How's it going tonight, buddy?
I'm loving it, buddy. How about you?
Good. Almost done building my garden. That's been a big job.
Nice. Get some pesticide-free veggies?
Yep. I got to do the compost this weekend and then ready to plant.
Right on.
So we'll see what happens.
You'll have 2 short months to grow as much as you can.
Yep. Then the power go out and I'll be ready for a couple of months. And then I'll die with the rest of them.
So what else is going on, buddy? We have Len Kasten on tonight.
Yeah, we'll chat with Len. He was nice enough to take some time out of his busy schedule and chat with us about his Serpo book, True Story of Interplanetary Travel. It was definitely an interesting conversation, so that'll be a fun one. And, of course, next week we're chatting Raelians with...
Deanne Brisebois.
Yeah, Deanne Brisebois. So that's back to back. We're kind of stretching the limits. So
I love
be
it.
Fun. Yeah, it'll be great. That's what we like to do here is push the boundaries as far as we can.
Right on. So you got any feedback at all?
No, I don't get that shit. That's you.
Oh,
well,
geez.
I get stuff on the Twitter, but I got some feedback. That's good.
Some
tweetback saying that. Noticing the sound improvement with the preamp, so that's good news. We can adjust. Hopefully, once we really get it figured out, hopefully you'll notice even more. But always fun to get new gear, which is a lot easier when you guys subscribe to an email address or join the Moneybomb.
Yeah, we do need a few contributions to help the expenses here. Not that we're, just spending money frivolously on new gear or anything like that, but there is fixed monthly expenses that we have to cover just to do this show. So we're not asking for anything, just cover some expenses.
And give away some cash. We want to give away more money.
It's like a 50-50
money
bomb.
It felt good to give away $100. I want to give away $500, $1,000.
Yeah.
We can get there.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's going to carry over though.
Yeah, it's carryover. So hopefully if we get some more in June, we'll do the draw June 30th. There's only 30 days in June. So yeah, check out the details, grimerica.ca/moneybomb. Check it out. Did you get any spam this week, buddy?
Yeah, I got a story, a long story.
A story?
Yeah, but I've also got my own to tell you, my own synchronicity story, so...
Oh, we're doing synchronicity.
Well, I can't give it up yet.
I don't think we can put synchronicity with the spam. Has anyone sent you any actual junk mail yet?
Of course not.
Fuck. I was hoping. I tried.
So, what would you like to hear first? My personal synchronicity or the feedback from
Let's go with yours, buddy.
Synchronicity. Okay, you have to pay attention to this. It's a bit of a long one. And you've probably heard this before, so don't daydream halfway through because you think you've already heard it, and put your phone down. Actually, yeah, okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fire away.
Okay, so I'm riding my bike. This is how it starts. I'm riding my bike past Nose Hill Park. It's this huge park in Calgary, right? And there's a long pathway along the side of it. And there's a metal railing there. So I'm riding up, and ahead I see this big bird sitting on the rail, right? Like standing on the rail. And I thought it was an owl at first. I thought, no, it's not an owl. It kind of looks like a golden eagle, or it's as I got closer, it was definitely a raptor type bird, right? So I'm on the pathway and it's like right on the rail, and I'm quietly riding up to it, and I'm thinking to myself, thinking to it, kind of like, don't be scared, don't be scared. I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna ride by.
You're trying to telepathically communicate with it?
Not really. It's just natural. It's just a natural thing. Like, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Like you would say.
Maybe it is a natural thing.
Maybe. So, anyways, I ride by it and I look to it. I look at it, and it's looking at me from like a foot or two away in the eyes as I ride by it, and I just get this full like body shiver, like whoosh. And of course I wanted to stop and look at it or do something, but I just kept riding, right? Because it's just watched me drive right by. So I didn't even know what kind of bird this was, right? I tried to get a decent look at it. So I got home on the internet and I was researching what kind of birds are in the area, and I realized it was a red-tailed hawk. So I was listening to A Mysterious Universe at the time, and they were talking about some sort of topic, and it reminded me of a book I had read from a guy's, and I couldn't remember the author's name. I knew the author's name had a number in it or something, right? So I was like, Jonathan 12 Hawk, and the guy's name is Jonathan 12 Hawk, right? So as I was looking for that author to comment in the Mysterious Universe blog about this, I stumbled across Jonathan Hawk, John Hawk actually, and I was like, this guy does interesting research. It's like paleo, what was it here? I've got it open here. It was like paleoanthropology, genetics, and evolution analysis. I'm like, man, I got to look into this guy a little deeper, right? So it's John Hawk, and then I email the Mysterious Universe about the books from Jonathan 12 Hawks. So I'm like, just after that, I get in my car to go to group meditation. I was going to this full moon meditation or something like that.
Wonder if he has a brother, Mike.
Mike Hawk? Probably. And another brother, Richard. Mike and Dick Hawk. Okay, this is the best part. Okay, we're back. So I get in my car. I'm in the middle of a long audiobook. It's like 16 hours long, right in the middle of it, right? Okay. I turn it on to play it, and the first thing that is said is researcher John Hawk in the middle of this audiobook. It was actually that audiobook from what's his name? David Wilcock audiobook.
That's gonna be tough to.
So I call my sister right away because it's like, it blows me away, right? I've never heard of this guy before, and I turn on the audiobook and John Hawk, researcher John Hawk, comes up in the middle of like a 16-hour audiobook. So I call my sister and I'm telling her about the synchronicity, and I get to the meditation and I'm talking to this guy, and he tells me he was having a really rough day and he was helped because he was watching a family of red-tailed hawks. The mama hawk and the daddy hawk and the little baby red-tailed hawk. And it totally brought him out of his funk, and he was just like in the moment and like, you know, just observing this nature, and it helped him. So, I mean, there you have it. What do you think?
What's the time frame?
Like within, like the same day, within hours.
Same day?
Yeah.
Within hours. Hawk. 7.7.
7.7?
No, yeah, 7.7.
Oh, that's it, eh?
That was fun, though.
You could, yeah, that was a lot of fun. You couldn't give me the record?
I'll give you, okay, 8. 8.01.
Really? Okay.
No, I can't give you the record. His is better, 7.7.
Just about had him. All right.
Not really, though.
But I mean, hey, the best part was like turning on that audiobook and the thing came on. It was minutes from me looking it up online by mistake to getting in the car and having his name on the audiobook. No, it's not. I'm not not swaying you at all.
7.9.
7.9. All right, I'll take it. I don't know if I can
that's not fair
beat
because
that.
you get the chance to try and swindle me and the other people don't.
Oh, I do that
but I guess
on
you try
their
and
behalf.
swindle theirs too. Yeah,
Yeah.
you do.
Okay, so do you want to hear a story from one of our listeners?
Yeah, man. Always. He's going to do better than you, probably.
Well,
I sense a 7.8.
I don't know if it's really a synchronicity. This is just a story.
Okay, that's one too.
This is from Dwayne Brownfield, and he says, he's a big fan of the show, and he wanted to share a story. He hasn't really shared it more than once or twice. He's not really sure what the hell to make of it. So he's been listening to the podcast on a long drive back home to New Hampshire. All right. So
on the road again.
So I've told the story only once or twice. I still don't know what to make of it. So I'm 26 right now, and this is a story from when I was 18. I had just been in
You think he cares if he uses his last name?
Yeah, he would have said something if
he didn't. Where's he heading to New Hampshire from?
South Texas. Close to RPJ, I think. Can I continue with the story? It's not really it might not be considered a synchronicity. It's more of kind of a UFO type story. Okay, so he had been in a bad car accident. He was very sore. It had been about a week since the accident, and he was sleeping all day long and staying up all night watching documentaries about Egypt and Edgar Cayce, etc. I woke up around 9 o'clock, he says, and he was feeling really sore. My life was also in turmoil at the time. My mother was in a new relationship, a new marriage, and it was bad. And I was a month away from moving out of state to go to a school to get my nursing license and start a new life. Things were hectic, and having just been in a car accident didn't help. I turned on the TV soon after I woke up, and there was a show about Edgar Cayce that was about to come on. I watched some of it, and then went out to the porch to smoke a joint and let my mind run around with far-off thoughts. As I was smoking, I noticed a light in a tree across a little river in the front of the backyard. The scene was this. Across the river was another house, and in their front yard there was a huge pine tree. In the background, there was a ridge line from a mountain. The tree was taller than the ridge line because it was closer to me. The light was round, and behind the tree, right where the ridge line was. I thought the light must have been a car on the mountain or a porch light. I finished my joint and waited a minute looking at the light. All of a sudden, it moved up slowly and now was not clearly on the mountain. I could see it behind the tree, but not in the tree. I then thought it was a plane or helicopter that must be moving in my direction. I watched it move up to the top of the tree, then stop and keep going up. Now I could see it in the sky, and it kept going until it was at the top of the sky, silent. It was yellow and orangish, and maybe with a small amount of translucent blue. Then it was gone, without any sound or trace. I was shocked, but not too blown away. What followed was odd. I went inside and sat on the couch. I'd only been awake for 2 hours or so at this point, so as soon as I sat on the couch, I felt heavy, very heavy, and I started to get this overwhelming sense of fear. The thought formed in my mind that I must go to my room and lay down. It was like the thought placed itself in my mind. Now I was feeling heavy, lots of fear, and suddenly tired, almost as if I wasn't in control of my body, though I knew I was. I went to my room and laid down. I then thought of the light I had just seen. That was the first moment I felt maybe it was a UFO. The next 7 or so seconds were fast and intense. A light filled my window behind my bed, and I could sense and slightly see 4 shadowy figures around my bed. I closed my eyes with intense fear and was just about stunned and paralyzed. The sound of a dentist drill filled my ears, and I passed out cold. I woke up the next morning just fine, but with some dreams that felt like they were small visions of the future. A plane, myself shaving with an orange and chrome razor, and 2 wooden planks. Odd, I thought. About a month later, my mother was driving me to the bus station so I could take the bus up to Maine to my new apartment so I could start school and my new career as a nurse. That morning, I took the new razor I got the previous day. It was orange and chrome. Okay, I went to the porch to smoke a cigarette, and there was a low-flying plane circling around, oddly low. As we pulled out of the driveway, there were 2 wooden planks off to the side of the driveway. I asked where they came from, and my mother said Darren, her new husband, had put them there that morning to fix the porch.
My name's Darren.
I know. Wow.
8.1.
I never knew. Hang on. I never knew what to make of this experience until years later I heard Terrence McKenna explain a DMT trip. I was stunned and wondered if perhaps I myself had a DMT trip on the natch. Don't know what that means.
On the natural?
Oh, yeah.
I think all DMT's natural, really. I mean, like you can extract it from different roots and like cook it down and get a powder. It's just like streamlining ayahuasca, really.
I was stressed at the time and going through a big time in my life. Could be. Ever since then, I see 11:11 on 12:12 on the clock. Also 9/11. That one I don't like, but can't seem to stop them. I've also since been reading and watching things about everything weird. Mushrooms, DMT, Egypt, Edward Casey, Gnostic Gospels, dreams, Buddhism, and all things in between. A personal awakening, maybe? If I told this story to Carl Jung, I don't think he would be shocked. His material seems to show that, yes, the UFO/awakening phenomena is mental. What a crazy thing this game of life, we call it, is. Hope I didn't just waste 10 minutes of your time with my big story. It feels good to tell it.
You wasted 10 minutes of everybody's time. No, I'm just
Thanks
kidding.
for
That
your
was a good
time,
story.
and keep up the good work. I love the show. Peace out, guys.
I liked it.
That was good,
It's
eh?
a good story, yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of when the shit that he saw in his dream came true?
I don't know. I like the numerology stuff better because what was I just listening to? I was just listening to. I think it was on THC. Buddy that was just on THC was talking about how 9/11 and 9/11's at like even before 9/11, like 9/11, all that stuff's based on some crazy elitist. I can't remember if it was elitist or not. Or
that was a really good episode.
It was really good.
We have to get that
we
guy
got to
on.
get him on. For sure. But yeah, no, thanks for the mail. That was a good story.
It made me think of when I heard him talk about the future stuff happening in the future that he's on the right path. Like that's a sign that he's going down the right path. Like it almost feels to me like if you can have a glimpse of these little things within your near future, that means you're.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So do you think he's seen a UFO or do you think the pot just helped put him in a state that he could, almost meditative state that he could.
I don't know, man. That's a long, weird trip. It's not just a light in the sky. There's the dentist drill and the feeling tired and scared, and yeah.
Well, by that point, you're like, if it's not actually happening, I think by that point you're like operating in dreamland. Whether you're actually sleeping or inducing or meditating to get there, to get to.
Yeah, maybe.
If they say you can meditate hard enough to get a DMT trip, which I still find hard to believe, but I mean, maybe mushrooms you can match by meditating. Even that I find hard to believe, but I guess I'm just not very good at meditating. If someone can meditate,
you should try.
If somebody out there can meditate to the point that they feel the same as they feel when they're peeking out on mushrooms, then email Graham because I want to hear about it.
Yeah, it's kind of not realistic.
No, exactly right.
No.
That's what they make you think, though.
Yeah.
They play it off like that a little bit.
I don't know, man. Maybe it was a real encounter. Maybe it was psychosomatic. I don't know. All right, it's my favorite time. The
I like to watch you
profound
scrambling when you see me put my
UFO
phone up to the mic.
This is a good one. Always hard to choose, but all right. I slammed on some power, hauled the nose up, and prayed we'd go over top that thing. Just as we started to climb, the thing swept straight up, did an impossible right angle turn, and begins to pace us. I don't see how anything could have executed a maneuver like that. I mean, almost a simultaneous two-directional turn. up and to the right, not to mention coming to a damn near dead stop. Now comes the wacky part of the whole thing. While we were watching the UFO, suddenly this other glowing thing drops out from underneath it. The damn thing drops out from underneath it. The damn thing looked like a neon green smoke ring. It dropped away from the larger UFO down toward the water and submerged. We saw the glowing green circle of water where it went in, and then the glow disappeared. Seconds later, 2 more green rings dropped out. The second one dropped away and submerged like the first one, but the third one dropped down and then shot straight ahead to disappear towards the coast. That was from Captain Hamill, TWA pilot over Atlantic Ocean. Objects also witnessed by co-pilot Dixon, December 22nd, 1977.
77, pre-drone.
Oh, yeah, man.
Maybe. And USO. USO.
Pre-commercial drone.
Yeah, exactly. Let's call it a drone.
Could be black. No, it's not going to
Black Ops drone.
No, they can't fly that.
Not Black Ops. Black budget drone.
No.
Secret space program drone.
No.
All right. It was a UFO dropping underwater Atlanteans. Nice one, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Always pulling out gooders, eh?
All right, yeah.
So I think that about wraps it up. We might as well jump into our chat with Len here. He was nice enough to spend the time and talk about his book. Like I said, it was a fascinating chat. And I'm hungry, so let's jump into her. Okay, guys, tonight here in Grimerica, we're going to be talking with author Len Kasten, author of the book Secret Journey to Planet Serpo. And it was a great read. I'm really looking forward to this. But first, how's it going tonight, Graham?
Hey, Darren. I'm doing good, buddy. I'm excited to be here today talking with Len. It's been a while. We've been thinking about having Len on, and we finally got him here. Len Kasten, who, as Darren mentioned, author of Secret Journey to Planet Serpo, True Story of Interplanetary Travel. Now, Len's been in the field of ufology for quite a while. He's been involved in the disclosure movement. He's been editing some magazines. He's been around this stuff for decades. He's had some of his own experiences, so we're looking forward to chatting with him about all this. His bio is a little bit too big for me right now, so we're just going to let him tell the story a little bit. Welcome to Grimerica, Len.
Okay, nice to be with you.
Yeah, so as Darren said, your book was quite fascinating. I don't even know where to begin here. It's quite a controversial topic, but do you want to tell us a little bit about how you came to write this book?
Well, it all started with a trip in 2006 to the UFO Congress in Laughlin, Nevada, where I met Bill Ryan. Bill was the one that created the website having to do with Serpo Story.
Okay.
And I was in a shuttle bus from Laughlin to Las Vegas Airport with Bill and some other people, and we discussed it all the way back to the airport. So by the time I got there, I had a very good feeling for what it was all about, and I pursued it and studied it and did some more research after that encounter.
So you must have been just blown away the further you went down the rabbit hole.
Absolutely. He was actually talking to myself and to Don Ware. Do you know who Don Ware is?
No, I'm not.
Don Ware, okay. And there were several of us in the shuttle, and that was Bill's only visit to the Congress that I know of, and I just happened to catch it and learned the whole story from him, directly from him.
So can you step back a few paces and give us like the general summary, like just a real brief summary of the story?
Well, the story is a remarkable one. We sent 12 Americans to a distant star system on an alien spacecraft in 1965. We sent 12 people, and 7 returned 13 years later. And this Serpo story is the story of their stay on that planet and what they learned and how they interacted with the civilization, which they call the Ebens, E-B-E-N-S. That was the name that was given to them after the Roswell crash. The movie Close Encounters was a abbreviated version of the takeoff when they actually left the planet. Spielberg had that information. We don't know how he got it. So it's quite a story. And they came back in 78, 7 of them. And then the aliens returned again 10 other times after that. The last return was in 2010. I'm sorry, 2011. So we have developed a diplomatic relationship with that civilization, and as far as I know, it's been a very productive one. We've learned a lot from them. Of course, it's all still top secret, but we have at least have this peek at what happened there and what it was all about. So it's an amazing story.
So is there anything new since you've written the book that's come out to light at all?
No, nothing that I'm aware of. Anonymous, who sent the information into the website in the first place, did send his last update in 2012 relating to a subject that was tangential to the Serpo story. But so he's still alive and he's still active, and that was the last email we received from him, 2012.
And what was the email about?
It was about there was a TV show on many years ago called The Aviary, revealing the secret organization they call The Aviary. Each one had a bird's name. Yeah.
We've heard of The Aviary before, yeah.
Okay, well, he was just correcting who the Falcon was.
Oh, okay, right.
It was somebody he knew personally, and he just wanted to get that information onto the website. So whoever Anonymous is, he's obviously way up in the hierarchy of the intelligence community to have those contacts and to have all that information.
So do we still have people on Serpo then? Is there still a couple people that are living there, stayed behind?
2 people remained behind, and 7 returned. 3 died. The 2 that remained behind, the last contact we had with them was 1988. After that, all communications with them stopped. So, evidently, they died on Serpo eventually. When exactly, we don't know.
I didn't make it to the part in your book not that I didn't make it, but I kind of didn't have time to go into it, where they didn't allow women to go. So why wouldn't they have sent some women to keep maybe since some people wanted to stay anyways, like wouldn't there have been a chance to keep the human race going there?
Well, that was not our intention. Our intention was not to start a colony there. Our intention was to bring those people back in 10 years. And with all that information that they would have, it was not to begin a colony on Serpo. Now there were 2 women in the initial group of 16. 16 people were trained together, so there were 4 alternates in the group. In the alternate group of 4, there were 2 women, but they didn't make the final cut. As far as I'm concerned, there's very strong evidence that the only ones who went were all men. And I'm convinced that's the case. That subject is still a little contentious, but Anonymous agrees now that Anonymous originally said that 2 women did go, but then it got contradicted by some other email that came into the website, and the final conclusion is basically that the only ones that went were men.
So when you first heard about this after the UFO Congress in 2006 with Bill Ryan, did you know Bill before that, or did you like? I can imagine it being such a strange story. Like, was it believable right away for you, or did it take some research for you to kind of start buying into the story?
I was convinced by Bill's manner and the way he related the story that he was a believer, and I respected his opinion because he's a very smart guy. That was my first introduction to Bill. I'd never met him before. So it was the way he told the story that convinced me that it was probably true, and persuaded me to go forward and do some research on my own. But that was the first time I met him.
Where's the...
Up to that point, I had probably about 25 years of research in UFO subject matter.
Yeah.
I had already written about 50 articles for Atlantis Rising magazine, and so I'd been in and out of it for a long time, plus I had some experiences. I felt very convinced that Bill was telling the truth as far as he knew it.
Yeah, exactly. So, can you tell us a bit about your own experiences then?
I had an experience when I was in the Air Force. I woke up one night at 3 o'clock in the morning, which was unusual for me, and I ran to the barracks window and looked out just in time to see a craft go by very silently, glowing green and gold phosphorescent color, a little above eye level. And I put my face up against the window and I watched it disappear out over the Gulf of Mexico. And fell back to sleep. And the next morning, the tower operators, Eglin Air Force Base was an experimental air base, and there was a lot of strange traffic going around there. They came in and said that I was in a weather detachment. They came in and said that they had 4 UFOs on the radar that night, hovering over the end of the runway. And the craft that I saw was coming from the runway. So I told them that. They said, well, why don't you go report it to the UFO office? I said, what's a UFO? I had no idea what it was. I did find the UFO office. I went there, and there was a captain sitting there, which surprised me right off the bat. And he had about a 5-page questionnaire in front of him and asked me a lot of very detailed questions about it. And we concluded that the craft was probably going about, we concluded it was about 3,800 miles an hour based on when I first saw it and when I saw it disappear. And so that added another factor of strangeness to the story. But then the very next day, I got very sick and with flu-like symptoms and had to go to the base hospital for 3 days. And later I found out that people who were taken on board craft did show those symptoms frequently. So putting it all together, why I jumped out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and ran to the window, why I got sick, I think probably I had been taken on board the craft, and when I woke up at 3 o'clock, I had just been returned to my barracks room. So I was pretty sure I was taken on board the craft. What I learned on that occasion, I have no idea. It's buried somewhere in my subconscious.
Yeah.
I think it's what got me started in this whole direction.
So do you think that craft would have been the Serpo Eezie? What, I don't know how you...
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think it had anything to do with Serpo.
So then
I don't know who they were. I don't know who they were, where they came from. I'm pretty sure I was taken on board. I probably learned something. Whatever I learned, it got me interested in joining NICAP about a year later. I don't think I would have any other reason to join NICAP. at that point, which was early in the UFO story.
So what year was that again, approximately?
It was in the early 60s.
Did you say 60s?
Yeah, early 60s.
Yeah. So what do you think between like that craft that you saw? Do you think that wasn't our own craft? Do you think that was probably from somewhere else?
Well, as I said, Eggman was an experimental base.
Yeah.
So it's possible it could have been one of ours. More than likely, though, based on the symptoms that I showed a couple of days later, I think it was probably an alien craft. That's why I got sick.
Yeah. Do you think there was accounts of MyLab abductions way back then, or are those more recent?
I don't know. I don't think the MyLab were happening then.
Yeah. Huh. What's your feeling about UFOs nowadays, and like how many are like say ET or interdimensional craft compared to our own black budget or not our own, but yeah, like Earth-based technologies?
I don't know. I know we have some amazing craft now, and I think we go back and forth to the moon on a regular basis, and we go back and forth to a military space station on a regular basis, and we have craft that can fly to the stars now without any question. So it wouldn't surprise me if maybe 30-40% of the sightings are now our own people.
Yeah, I'm feeling that it's almost getting indistinguishable between what is actually like ET or interdimensional technology compared to our own.
Right, especially the triangular craft.
Yeah,
I know we've had the triangular craft for a long time. So if it's triangular, I think the one that appeared over Phoenix about 10 or 15 years ago, I think that was probably ours.
Really, eh? Even though it was that huge?
It was a huge triangular craft, yeah.
Yeah, because I would have thought that the really big one like that from Phoenix would have been more ET, and then ours are the smaller black triangular ones, but who knows?
Could have been. I don't know how big it was, but it was rather large. Mm-hmm. I think somebody estimated it to be a couple of football fields. I'm not sure.
Huh. So getting back to Serpo a little bit. Obviously, you get a rough ride from the UFO people and from mainstream. Like, you must be sort of taking it from all ends. Has it been tough?
I'm getting. Yeah, you're right. I'm getting kind of a cold shoulder from the UFO people. However, some of them are very enthusiastic, but they are the rare cases. And investigating that strangeness of that phenomenon, and thinking about it, I came to the conclusion that the UFO people just don't believe the story, and they're still hung up on lights in the sky, and they haven't gone as far as the fact that we are dealing with extraterrestrials on a regular basis, and we are. Yeah. We're dealing with them. They're here. Several different races are here. The Serpo website talked about 9 different races that we're dealing with. I think it's probably even more than that. And I did mention those 9 in my book and where they were from in the introduction.
Yeah. So what do you think it is about the story or about your book that the UFO community doesn't want to believe? Like, what's the main thing that's holding them back? Is it like evidence, or is it just how crazy the story is?
I don't believe it or not. I think the story is so fantastic. They're not believing it. I mean, these are people who believe everything else, but they won't believe that we sent 12 Americans to a distant star system on an alien spacecraft, which is very, very doable, very possible. So I'm not sure. I think that they're just not buying the story. I don't know. You may have a better idea about this than I do.
Yeah, I don't know either, because for me, like, some of them are willing to accept that there's these massive crafts seen by multiple people, multiple times, radar, all this other confirmation, and yet it doesn't seem like, so for me, it doesn't seem like much of a stretch that that from there, we could send people to another planet, but it seems like there's just a lot of constant infighting amongst the UFO community. Like,
yeah, it is rather odd, and it is even more odd when you consider that in the very next year, 2006, on Coast to Coast, Rick Doty, Bill Ryan, and Stan and Whitley Strieber were on together talking about Serpo. George Noory was questioning them and expressing his amazement about the story, and not one of them contradicted it or said that it was probably false. They all agreed, all of them, that it was probably true. When you consider that one of them was Rick Doty, who was from the Air Force Office of Special Investigation, that's particularly remarkable. But the fact that Whitley Strieber also went along with it, and Bill Ryan was also on, three of them together, that was soon after the Serpo website had been started. It was the very next year. So you'd think that by now the UFO community would have said, maybe there is something to this after all. But I am getting the cold shoulder about it, and it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. Didn't Anonymous comment on that interview on Coast to Coast and say that it was, as far as he was concerned, it was fairly factual?
He may have, but I didn't read that. Where did you read that?
I thought it was in your book. Maybe it was somebody else that commented on it.
Could be. Oh, wait a minute. I think, now that I think about it, I think he did say that he liked the interview, yes.
Yeah, something like that.
That's right, he did. I didn't put that in the book.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I read that somewhere else then.
Yeah, maybe on the website.
Yeah, maybe. Has it been tough for you then? Like trying to put up with all this crap from all sides? Like, how have you been able to withstand that?
Tough for me how? What do you mean?
Well, like psychologically, like I kind of keep coming back to the people that are involved in this field and how it's affected them personally, I guess. Like, I don't know. It must be hard for you being, having this book out where people are just sort of battling you from all ends.
It's not hard for me at all. I have no problem with it. The book has been doing quite well. It's number 4 on the publisher's top 50 list and has been for several months now. We're getting some interest from Hollywood. The story is getting out there. It's slowly growing.
Slowly.
Don't forget that this happened. The Americans returned in 1978. That was almost 40 years ago. So, it's an old story now. It really is a very old story. And I think the time has finally come where people are going to say, well, hey, maybe this did happen.
Yeah, getting back to the book, can we get into to a bit of, for our listeners that haven't read the book, a bit of what was going on in Antarctica back in the 30s?
Yeah, I thought it best to preview the story, the Serpo story, with a prelude of what happened before Serpo. And it was particularly important to get across the Kingman event, which was when the aliens sent a craft here for us to back engineer. But the Antarctica story was a continuation of the Nazi thing. They had built a base there in 1938, and they were continuing to develop their flying saucers there in Antarctica. So when we send a fleet there to wipe out the base, they sent the saucers up and repelled the invasion. And Admiral Byrd was the leader of that fleet. That was Operation High Jump. And the operation was supposed to be there for 6 months. They returned after 2 months, and we lost approximately 68 people were killed. So it appears that the Nazis had...
Oh, sorry, was that the Nazi base that they showed up at and there was nobody there? I thought I heard a story about that before, that we showed up at a Nazi base in Antarctica and there was nobody there, but then there's ended up being a battle anyway.
I don't know what you mean about nobody there. The saucers came right out of the water, and engaged the fleet and the American, actually it was an international fleet. We sent an aircraft carrier, we sent 4,700 Marines. They engaged the ships, and my understanding is they sank one of the ships and killed 68 men, at which point Byrd decided to terminate the operation and return to the U.S.
And then we just kind of left it at that? We just gave...
Well, no. I mean, he came back with valuable intelligence, and needless to say, he was grilled by the congressional committees and blah, blah, blah. And his advice was to turn Antarctica into a thermonuclear test range. That was his recommendation. And they decided to put him out of commission, and he ended up in a mental institution. They didn't want him saying any more about it. But you can imagine the kind of panic that must have prevailed at the Pentagon at that point, and that was in early 1947. And I wanted to tell that story first because 4 months later, came Roswell. And what I said in my book was that changed everything, because any plans that we had to go back to Antarctica became unnecessary at that point, because now we were dealing with an alien race that had technology far in advance of anything that the Nazis had. And that was the best place to put our bets at that point. And that's what we did. That's exactly what we did. Because the Roswell crash was the beginning of the Serpo story. One alien survived the Roswell crash, and he was from Serpo. And that was the connection that we made that started the whole ball rolling. That's what started everything. He remained alive for another 5 years at Los Alamos laboratories. And we questioned him, and we learned all about Serpo from him. And it was at that point that a decision was made to have an exchange program. It wasn't Kennedy that started the exchange program. He just improved it. He let it go forward. The decision to have the exchange program was made in 1952, before he died, before the alien died. So I have all that in the book.
Which is interesting, because that's when that disinformation campaign started too, right? That big, oh shit, I just lost the name of it. Help me out, Darren.
Blue Book?
No, the... what's that one, Len, where they talked about using the media to ridicule people and all that?
You mean in Hollywood? What are you talking about?
No, there was a meeting that they all had in 1952, the CIA probably, and they decided...
Condon Committee?
No, it's different. I can't think of the name. I've talked about it so many times now, and I can't remember the name.
That wasn't what the Condon Committee was.
No, it's different than that. It's that other one. Anyways, I'll figure that out. So it's coincidental then too that the CIA was created a couple months after Roswell too. That's kind of weird. You see any link there?
I think that Truman had a lot more information about aliens than you and I know about, because there were two crashes before Roswell, one in off San Diego and one in New Mexico, where we recovered alien bodies. So by that point, and they were all around critical military installations, so there was concern here that there was a military involvement. The Roswell crash itself was right out near the 509 bomb group, which was our nuclear delivery bomb group. So Colonel Corso thought that the Pentagon was concerned that they were worried about an alien invasion, that these people were just doing some surveillance for a possible alien invasion, especially since there were some human body parts found on the Roswell craft. It turned out that they were just collecting these body parts and bringing them back with them for their biotechnology work. It wasn't that they ate human beings. So, but anyway, there was concern, and so that's why everything had to be kept top secret.
So where did the leak develop? Like, who's responsible? I suppose. Is there any sort of thoughts on who it was who first let the cat out of the bag?
What about the Serpo story?
Yeah.
That didn't happen until 2005. Anonymous was the first to send in the emails to the website, to Victor Martinez's website, and that first set of 21 emails that he sent was the revelation of the Serpo story, and that happened in 2005.
And he doesn't say who he claims to be or anything like that?
He just continues to call himself Anonymous, but we do know that he was the editor of the Red Book. He claimed to be the editor of the Red Book. The Red Book is a book of all of our encounters with aliens over all the years. He was the one that gave an update on the Red Book to sitting presidents, 5 different presidents. So he must be way up in the intelligence hierarchy, whoever he is.
Then do you think they still continue to fill the president in, or do you think he's just become out of the loop by this point?
I think the last president to really know the story was Eisenhower, and even he didn't know it all. Kennedy was given half the story, I believe. For instance, if you read my book, you know that it's very unlikely that Kennedy knew anything about the Kingman event. The Kingman event was critical because we came to realize after the Roswell crash that this little ship did not come all the way from another star system. It was too small. There were only 6 occupants, and it wasn't geared for long-distance travel. So I'm sure that we concluded right away that there had to be a mothership still in orbit around our planet. And evidently that turned out to be the case because they did send another craft down in 1952, shortly after the first alien died. We named him EBE number 1, by the way. That was the designation we gave him. He died in 52. In 53, the gift that they sent us crashed in Kingman. It didn't actually crash, it landed. And it was taken right away to the Nevada test site, and we began work on reverse engineering that craft in 1953. So by the time that Kennedy came in office, and the time we sent the 12 Americans to Serpo, we'd already been dealing with them for 9 years, and they were helping us reverse engineer their craft. So we knew a lot about them by the time we sent those 12 guys there. We knew a great deal about them, and they.
So I wonder if the Red Book was named after Carl Jung. He had a book that was published after he died, I think, that it was kind of like his memoirs or notes, and it was called the Red Book, and he got into all kinds of crazy stuff.
I don't know. I don't think there's any connection. Why did he call it the Red Book?
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder. I'm not sure.
The only reason that Anonymous says it's actually an orange-colored book. It's not exactly red. They call it the
orangey brown or something like that.
Yeah. But he was the sitting editor. He was the editor of the Red Book, meaning that he decided what reports went into it and which ones did not go into it. And then he would brief the sitting president. That was his job.
Huh. So do you remember I was trying to think of that name back in 1952? It was the Robertson panel. That's what I was thinking of. It seems like another coincidence that same year, early in 1953, is when the panel arose, from the Intelligence Advisory Committee to come up with this, this. Actually, they did review Blue Book, I guess, back then, but it was.
Blue Book was started, I believe, in the mid 50s, wasn't it?
I don't know. Yeah, it's getting a weird.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. But anyways, it's interesting how the panel was trying to, to conclude that UFOs were not a direct threat, but they could actually, use the media to ridicule the subject and basically dismiss it. And ever since that panel, I mean, they've been doing a fucking damn good job of it.
Yeah, the Serpo team was kept under tight security until they left. There was a fanatical dedication to secrecy. They were actually kept locked up at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, until they left. That's how fanatical. So this was one of the most highly secret operations ever, with the exception perhaps of the atomic bomb development. That's how critical the secrecy was. So it wouldn't surprise me that they went to other lengths after that either.
Speaking of working on atomic bombs, you had a chapter in your book on some of the technologies that the Ebens were capable of. Do you mind touching on that a little bit?
Yeah, I decided that I should devote a chapter to it because a lot of it was dribbled out to Anonymous sort of casually, and he didn't make a big thing of it. I thought it was necessary to really review the kind of advanced technology that we know about just from those 21 emails. And one of them was free energy. He said they had the ability to extract energy right out of the ambient, the vacuum, and apply it. And that reminded me that we had been working on that as far back as the 1940s, so it wasn't anything new to us. The Keeley engine, the Keeley motor. I think Keeley came along in the early 1900s and developed the motor. Yeah. So this idea of free energy extracted from the vacuum was nothing new to us, and evidently the Ebens have it perfected, because the 12 members of the team said that in their notes that they used that kind of energy routinely on Serpo. So that much we know. Then there was the so-called crystal rectangle device. Do you remember reading about that in my book?
Yep.
They took a lot of electrical appliances with them to Serpo. Evidently, they were sure that they would all work, and they did. And they plugged into this black box that powered all these electrical devices. Mm-hmm. And that became known as the CR, or the crystal rectangle. They did find one on the alien craft at Roswell, but they didn't know what it was. And until the Americans came back from Serpo and finally they realized that it was a power device, they've learned a lot more about it. And one of the things they learned about it was that it operates on antimatter. It's a molecule or a module of antimatter that powers any device that's plugged into it electrically. So they have antimatter, they have anti-gravity. They loaded 90,000 pounds worth of equipment and supplies that went with the Americans to Serpo in one move. They moved it all onto their craft in one move. So obviously they have that worked out too, and they can impart levitation to heavy objects. And this is reminiscent, of course, of a lot of the sites, the ancient sites, the pyramids, and a lot of other sites where they had these huge boulders. So evidently they had that technology even then. Mm-hmm. Whoever came to our planet even then. But the Ebens had it, clearly. So they had anti-gravity, they had antimatter, they navigated through wormholes, they went 40 times the speed of light. It took them 10 months to get to their planet from here. And the planet is 40 light years away. That tells us that they were traveling at about 40 times the speed of light. And
but that includes the wormholes, right?
Well, the only way they could do that was if they were going through the wormhole, because the wormholes are instantaneous. They're instantaneous. So 10 months was evidently spent in navigating to and from the wormholes. It was some form of stellar navigation that was needed. But once they got in a wormhole, they went from one end of it to the other instantaneously. And that's the only way they could have traveled 40 light years in 10 months. They also had antimatter propulsion on the craft as well. But the antimatter was not what they used to go through these tremendous stellar distances. So they had that. They had what Tesla called the death ray, which was really a
particle beam weapon or something like that.
Particle beam weapons, yes, particle beam weapons, and they had themselves been involved in a war with another civilization that had lasted 100 years, and they finally defeated their enemy with the particle beam weapons, according to Anonymous.
So do you think that that's where we're getting some of our particle beam weapons from finally, or our energy directed energy weapons is from this type of reverse engineering that's taken, a decade or two?
It might not have been reverse engineering. It might have been cooperation.
Right.
I mean, we have developed a very, very diplomatic and very friendly relationship with the Evens. They've been back here 10 times.
Yeah,
so it wouldn't surprise me if they had given us a lot of their technology.
But isn't that surprising that they would do it and we would harm each other with it? Like, you'd think they'd be a little more spiritual advanced and wouldn't cooperate with us if we're going to destroy ourselves,
I think they're neutral on that point. I don't think that they are going to take any position on that. They're letting us do whatever we choose to do. And
like it's just all business kind of thing or something.
Well, not so much all business, so much as non-interference. Non-interference is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the aliens really choose to interfere with our destiny or our fate or our life here on this planet. And I don't think any of them consider death to be a big deal anyway, because it's a recycling, really, more than anything. And I do think that we did use particle beam weapons in the first Gulf War. So beyond that, I don't know. I'm just guessing. Of course, some of the reports that came back from that first Gulf War, especially that battle in the desert, sound very much like the use of particle beam weapons.
Can you give us, you had a chapter in your book about the exploration and kind of the the landscape of Serpo. Can you kind of give our listeners a look at what Serpo might have looked like, or what it does look like, I suppose?
The planet was a little smaller than ours. All the dimensions are in my book, the weight, the diameter, so forth and so on. It's all there.
The orbits.
What's that?
The orbits, all that stuff is in there, right?
The orbit, all the details, all the mathematics are in there. Our people experienced tremendous heat when the craft first landed there. The craft evidently landed in the equatorial region. It was extremely hot, but the Evens apparently liked the heat, and they sort of prefer it to any other to cooler temperatures. So they put us in an underground. They put them in an underground location where it was cooler, and that's where they lived until finally, after 7 years or 6 years of living in that hot region, they allowed us to move to a northern quadrant of the planet where it was much cooler. And our people said that the landscape and the temperatures were very similar to Montana, what Montana is on our planet. So it was very pleasant for them finally, in the final 7 years of their habitation there.
But that would only been 2 Serpo years?
No, we're talking, they were gone, the Americans were gone for 13 years. 13 of our years.
And that's 7 Serpo years?
How that translates to their years, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't done that. I haven't done the mathematics on that.
And then so there was 2 suns too, wasn't there, or around Serpo? Like isn't there a picture? One of the pictures has what is it? The sunsets of Serpo or something like that.
Yeah, there were 2 suns. Serpo itself was in orbit around one of the suns, not both. But the other one remained in the sky, and so it never got dark on Serpo. It would get dim, but never dark. And it was constant sunlight for that reason.
So, speaking of that picture then, I mean, do you get asked a lot by people, or is that one of the main things they challenge you on, is where's all the photos?
Yeah, well, I have a whole half a chapter in the book about why those photos didn't show up. Victor Martinez tried to get the photos included. He had 100 of them in his possession at one point. Then they were sent to a specialist in Army or Air Force intelligence who said that he didn't think they were genuine. Based on that analysis, they were not found to be legitimate.
And they weren't returned, right?
And they weren't returned. So the ones that were returned, Bill Ryan decided were too questionable to put in the book, to put on the website. So the only one that survived was that one single photograph of the 2 sunsets, of the 2 suns in the sky.
And what about the audio tapes? Do we have any hope, any faint hope in the near future that some of those audio tapes might surface?
Well, I prefer to see the photos myself. I prefer those before the audio tapes, but the audio tapes would be great too. It's all in a vault at Bowling Air Force Base in Washington, which is the Air Force Base shared by the DIA. The DIA has their headquarters at Bowling Air Force Base. And so all of this material is in the vaults of the DIA at Bowling Air Force Base. All of the soil samples, the audio recordings, the photographs, there are about 3,000 photographs. And everything. It's all there. But
wonder if we could FOA it. Or FIA it?
FOAI?
FOAI?
FOIA. I'm going to put an FOIA request again, but we haven't had much luck with those.
That's because it doesn't exist, I guess, probably to the official government.
I don't think they're denying that it exists. Tell you the truth, if you read, did you read Appendix 12 in my book?
Yeah, I did.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Appendix 12 is a complete disclosure. If that's not disclosure, what is? It comes from a very high level of MJ12. All those 12 points made in that one appendix is everything that we've been waiting to hear. There's nothing in Appendix 12 that would not constitute complete disclosure. And I don't have it in front of me, but if you have the book in front of you and you want to read off some of those points, it's a very short appendix. That to me is complete disclosure. I don't know what anyone else would be waiting for, frankly.
Yeah, I've got it right here. So it's number 1 was intelligent life does exist on other planets and throughout the universe. 2 is craft not of human design or manufacture are operating in and around the land, sea, and air of Earth. 3, intelligent beings other than Homo sapiens are conducting various missions on this planet. These beings have been coming here for tens of thousands of years. And then we'll shoot to 7. The spiritual evolution of an alien life form may be ahead of, equal to, or behind its level of technological development. So where did this list came from MJ12, and this was handed off to Victor Martinez?
Yes. So as far as I'm concerned, that's complete disclosure. I don't know what. There's no need to wait for anything else. It's all right. It's all right there. It's in my book, and what else? What else do you want to know?
Well, it's because of all these people that this big fight over the MJ12 documents and all that, right? And over its authenticity. And there's people that still say that they're all fake, and some people say some of them are real and some of them are fake. And it's just like this ongoing problem in ufology, right?
I don't consider it a problem. I don't think there's any doubt that MJ12 existed. Whether they do still exist or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was the most logical thing in the world for Truman to call a panel like that together.
Exactly. That's kind of what I think too.
Absolutely. It wouldn't have made sense to do anything else.
Yeah. And you know what? If they were there, do you ever think that something like that would shrink or non-exist? It would probably grow, and it would still be there. I mean, it's like
Absolutely.
it's like saying
Absolutely.
that a government started and got smaller. You know.
Exactly. When did that ever happen?
Yeah.
If anything, it's worldwide now. It's not just America.
That's yeah.
Absolutely. The Russians are involved. The Chinese are involved. The Vatican's involved. They're all involved.
Yeah.
So it's not unique to us any longer.
No, it's just
matter of fact that the visit in 2010, we invited the Vatican, we invited China, we invited Russia, we invited many members of Congress, all to that event that took place at Johnston Island in 2009. So, they know all about the Serpo story, all of them.
So speaking of disclosure, because I was going to ask you about that too. I mean, I realize you think that it has happened or could happen, that it's all there for the taking, but when do you think it'll be generally accepted by us in the mainstream, scientific community, or at least the government or something? Like, what's it going to take for this to blow open?
We have to get those doors of that vault opened and get all that stuff out. That's what's needed. And once the public has seen those 3,000 photos, do you think there's going to be any further doubt? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
The photos, the voice recordings, the soil samples. I mean, what will be left after that?
While we're at it, we should bust into the Smithsonian too. I bet you they got some cool shit. The military wants this out, but they want it out in a controlled, sane way. They don't want anything like the War of the Worlds, okay? They don't want anything like that panic. And but the story is getting more complicated day by day, and so the more complicated it gets, the more they're going to have to reveal, and it's going to get to the point where how can they reveal all this stuff? That's why they're trying to do a controlled public acclamation. That's what the controlled public acclamation program is all about, to release the steam, release the pressure. And they want to do that. They do. There's a lot of men of good faith and goodwill in the military, in government, that are trying to do that. And releasing the Serpo story was just one piece of it. It's just one piece of it.
Yeah, I've heard that before too about the releasing the steam, and I kind of agree with that in a way too. I don't know, might be something that has to happen outside of our control. I mean, the thing that I don't agree with about the pictures and stuff is you can't prove a picture's real. You can just prove it's fake. So, these things seem to be easily debunked no matter how good it is. People will just say it's unknown, right? That's like the best you can get.
Pretty hard to argue with interplanetary soil samples, though.
Yeah, well, they could say that the soil is from some exotic place on Earth or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you the truth. At this point, science fiction film has gotten way past any of the realities. People are so used to seeing incredible stories roaming the galaxy in sci-fi film because of CGI and other effects that the real stuff is going to be very tame when it's released. And they're going to poo-poo it and say, well, they can't believe it's that simple after what we're seeing in science fiction film. So the situation gets more and more complicated as we move along, especially as we get into stuff that's interdimensional. That's really fantastic. And, we haven't even talked about teleportation yet, which is really an amazing story.
Oh, yeah, I'm loving it already. let's get into teleportation now.
No, there's no teleportation involved in the Serpo story, but I think you know about Andy Bisagio, right?
Yeah.
And you know his story, right? That he was teleported to Mars.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So that's even more amazing than the Serpo story. So a lot of these stories are going to be much more amazing than. By the time Serpo is revealed, it's going to be considered very tame. Very tame.
What was the project name of the teleportation to Mars? Wasn't Obama there too?
Yeah. I think there was talk about that.
That was Operation. I can't think of the name of it now.
Pegasus? No.
Pegasus. Yeah, Pegasus. That's right.
Oh yeah, I think didn't the White House actually came out and publicly denied it? Oh yeah,
that doesn't surprise me. Clinton's also been denying everything, but he knows more than anybody.
Huh.
Teleportation, I think, is the real story. Because with teleportation, who needs time travel? Who needs physical spaceships any longer? That's really the incredible story right there.
So, Len, about in your book, and Darren read it out here about how these entities have been living sort of on Earth and in Earth and outside of Earth. Like, is there underground bases with these things now? Are they constantly kind of around here, sort of hidden in plain sight?
Well, the group we call the reptilians, I think, have been here longer than we have. Mm-hmm. My own opinion is that we're not native to this planet anyway. I believe that we probably originated, according to what a lot of people are talking about, the Pleiadians. We came here from Lyra, I don't know how many thousands of years ago, but the reptilians were already here, according to some beliefs, and some ancient civilizations that even outdate us. So we don't own the place either, no? And the reptilians supposedly have underground bases that go down around 200 miles under the surface. So there's so much going on. It's just unbelievable.
I've heard rumblings of us evolving on Mars, and like that's why there's so many bad backs, is because Earth has too much gravity.
I'm sorry. Repeat that again. I didn't get that.
I've heard rumblings in the past of people talking about human life evolving on Mars, and that's why there's so many bad backs and stuff like that in societies, because there's too much gravity on Earth. We're not used to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation. Of course, Bob Dean said that he thinks there's a city the size of Chicago under the surface of Mars, and one of the pictures that was taken of the surface seems to show an underground city. So there's that to deal with. And Andy Bisagio said he was teleported there, and that we do have communities on Mars underground.
You never know. So when you get back to our evolution there, what's your belief in, do you think that we were planted here as humans, or do you think that some sort of primitive species was modified into what we are now?
I don't know about the species that Sitchin claims was created 400,000 years ago as a slave race. I don't know about that. I don't know who they were, if they're still here. But what you and I know as the human race today was not the race that was created 400,000 years ago by the Anunnaki, as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe that at all. I think we came here sometime after the dinosaurs were destroyed, and that would have been probably around 65 million years ago.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I think didn't the dinosaurs, weren't they destroyed supposedly 65 million years ago?
Yeah, right around there.
Yeah.
So you think it was that far back, eh?
Well, I don't know. I don't think that we are the race that Sitchin is referring to.
So do you think like the fact that different types of life on Earth are so closely related in DNA, do you think that's a universal thing then? Like if we say perhaps an entity from Serpo would have that same sort of similarity in DNA?
No, the Ebens do not have the same physiology or biology as humans do. They appear to be sort of like, they look human. They're smaller, they're brown skinned, but we discovered that their biology is very different. However, there are, I believe, humans throughout the galaxy on many, many planets. We're not alone on this planet. The human race is all over the place in this galaxy.
Just recently, or have we been all over the place for a while?
Long time. The Pleiadians are basically humans, and we're very closely related to the Pleiadians, and also to the Andromedans in a way, but mostly the Pleiadians. But I think all the humans did originate in the Lyra galaxy, Lyra. And there were some very, 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 very destructive wars that took place between the reptilians and the humans, and that caused them to have to leave the Lyran system. But I think we are basically newcomers to this planet.
What about the Raelians? Where do they fit into all that?
I don't know about those. I don't know who the Raelians are. I'm sorry, I don't know.
No, because we wanted to have somebody on about that.
I know there's a group called the Tall Whites that supposedly we are hosting in the Nevada desert. That's one of the groups we're dealing with. But I think we're dealing with about 10 different groups at this point.
Yeah, there's a whole list at the front of the book, I think. Actually, I could fire a few of them off here. Where was that?
That's right. Anonymous mentions nine different groups.
Yeah, the Greys, the Ebens.
Some of them are hard to pronounce.
Yeah, some of them are and some of them are artificial life forms too.
Yeah, like I think the Greys are probably artificial, right?
Well,
I think Graham's artificial.
Anonymous mentioned some cloned and some partially human, partially cyborgian that we're dealing with. But they can make decisions and they have intelligence. It's an amazing story. I mean, the deeper we get into it, the more incredible it becomes.
Well, Len, we'd like to really thank you for coming on the show. The hour just flew by. So again, for the listeners, the book is Secret Journey to Planet Serpo, a true story of interplanetary travel, by Len Kasten. And thanks a lot, Len. Before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to let our listeners know, where they can find you, maybe anything upcoming or anything like that?
I will be giving a talk to the MUFON group here in Phoenix on July 26th. And if they want more information about me or about the book and about my first book, Secret History of Extraterrestrials, they can go to my website, which is www.et-secrethistory.com. And they can order either book directly through me at that point or click through to Amazon or to the publisher, either way.
Perfect. Are you on the Twitter or the Facebook or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. Yeah, you can find me on Facebook.
All right. Well, we'll link to all that stuff in the show notes. And again, that book was quite fascinating. It's a great read, and we recommend it to all our listeners.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Nice to be with you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Welcome back to the Grimerica Show. That was our chat with Mr. Len Kasten.
Yeah, that was a good one. Some of that stuff, I don't know. It's some of it seems like a little much, but Fuck, anything's possible these days.
You never know, man. All these big UFO sightings all over the globe.
What's your thought?
I like to hold a tiny little bit of hope that stuff like that actually may happen.
All in.
I'm not all in.
I'm all in. No, I, you know, it's an interesting concept for sure. I mean, who knows? Maybe one day that's what we'll find out. I mean,
look, other guys like Dolan and stuff have talked about the secret space program. Like, somebody's responsible for all these sightings of massive craft. So, look, I'm not going to discount like actual sightings that are reinforced by radar and multiple observers and all this stuff. So, where the fuck are they coming from?
Interesting that, well, it's straight up extraterrestrial, no dimensions, no nothing. Just nuts and bolts,
wormholes and.
Well, yeah. I definitely recommend the book. Have a read of the book. He's got everything like documented in the back, supplies, like the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it's a pretty extensive story. I mean, if it was fake, somebody put a hell of a lot of effort into it. It's just too bad that it's a lot of it seems like just word of mouth from a source, right? Like, you know, the anonymous guy.
Yeah, isn't that always the case, though, right?
Yeah.
It was a good one.
Yeah, we'd like to thank Len.
Yeah, thanks, Len, for coming on. And next week, of course, we're going to jump into the Raelians. So, of course, as always, spam the shit out of Graham. He hasn't been getting enough lately. Forward him your junk mail. Graham@grimerica.com. Send in your synchronicities.
Don't spell it how Darren says it, please. It's Graham. Graham@grimerica.com.
And send in your synchronicities and I'll crush your dreams. And tell a friend. Tell your friends about Grimerica. Spread the word. Put up the flyers. And
we got some new reviews on iTunes. So.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, those are always good. Review us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating. Or
that helps.
A 1-star rating if you feel it's appropriate. And that helps. Everything helps kind of grow the show, grow the clout, grow everything, and we can keep this baby rolling and get some of the guests that some of you guys have suggested. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook.
$5 a month gets you a Grimerica email address. Darren will set up for you.
Yeah, and that's going to be a limited club, so it'll be like a few years down the road. You know, when we're really taken off, you'll be like the one of 50 people that's got a Grimerica email address. So you put that shit on your resume.
And it helps out the show. And we want to give some money back. So Moneybomb will roll over next month. And we will be giving away $100 minimum.
That's it.
But we need a little bit more to make that happen. So
all right, guys. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the chat with Len Kasten. Have a good weekend.
My bags are packed. I'm ready to go. I'm standing here outside the door. I hate to wake you up to say goodbye, but the dawn is breaking, it's early morn. The taxi's waiting, he's blowing his horn. Already I'm so lonesome I could die. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you wait for me. Hold me, don't you ever let me go. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane. I don't know when I'll be back again. Oh, babe, I hate to go. Emang ako tatayay kangayay. Wari ko mo kepanang kangayay. Dako si kumo ko piyaki maningat go. Pantapon ako kiminayay. I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to miss you so. And wherever I go and whatever I do, I'll be thinking about you. Baby girl, you don't have to worry, you know I'll be faithful. And I just hope and wish you'll do the same. He'll be an angel. Deraw rin ako po na di mga kaisi puso ito mo tatang kakay daw tanawan. So kiss me on the wing honey. So ngay ako punta ni ngay ko na'y tay mga kakay. Panagtok ka na beyond the Pacific. Yakita ya burning ngayon ang kirit bigay. Oh baby, don't let me go. Yeah.
I'm loving it.